Good evening. The Philippines is prepared.
September. The month could very well be the worst of times and the best of times. Two grim events happened on this month: the imposition of martial law in the Philippines in 1972 and the attacks on World Trade Center in 2011. But September is also a month of hope when youngsters and the youth flock back to school. Tonight's premiere episode of Talk of the Town's second season is all about remembering. We remember September and not be lulled into slumber. Forever we light the embers and witness hope arise yonder.
Good evening and welcome to the premiere episode of our second season at Talk of the Town. This is Mayor Martinez, one of your hosts for Talk of the Town. We are on the tail end of the month of September, which is definitely a month to remember. So what do you think? But before that, let's say hello to my co-host from the other side of the Hudson River, Cris Godinez. Hi, Cris!
Hi, Nair! Kumusta po sa inyong lahat? I'm so glad to be with our viewers again for this season's premiere. This time, we remember September. We remember 9/11 and commemorate our Kababayans who were among the casualties of the attack on the World Trade Center 20 years ago. We also remember September 21 when the dark days of martial law loomed over the Philippines under the dictator Ferdinand Marcos. Here in our side of the states, we look forward to the changing of the season. Fall also signals back to school. We are excited to have a conversation with a teacher and vlogger about what school is like now as New York City, the largest school district in the country, cautiously emerges from the pandemic lockdown. Nair?
Yep, definitely. But first, let us remind our viewers and listeners to invite their friends and families to tune in to our Facebook Live event right now. That's happening right now. And it is also simulcast on our YouTube channel. And by the way, the show tonight is brought to you with the support of our sponsor, World Remit. We're fast, we're safe, and we're low cost. To kick off our show tonight, here are some news bites from Philippine Daily Mirror's executive editor, Ricky Rillera, with Balitaan.
Good evening. The Philippines is preparing for the 2022 elections. There are at least 3 government officials that have announced their presidential aspiration. Boxing icon and Senator Manny Pacquiao, Senator Ping Lacson with Senator Tito Soto as his running mate, and Manila Mayor Isko Moreno with Dr. Willie Ong as his vice president. The opposition coalition Isang Bayanan is still searching for its presidential candidate. Vice President Leni Robredo has yet to declare her 2022 plans. However, in a video released on September 24, less than a week before filing candidacies, it is most likely that Robredo will announce her presidential bid. Former Antonio Sani Trillanes IV has said he will run for president if Robredo does not. Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte, a presumptive presidential candidate, has said she would not run. However, unofficial reports have it that former Senator Bongbong Marcos will bid for president and choose Sara Duterte as his running mate. Although a member of the Nacionalista Party, Marcos has accepted the endorsement of the Kilusang Bagong Lipunan as their presidential candidate. President Duterte has signed his certificate of nomination as vice presidential candidate from a faction of the Partido Demokratiko Pilipino, Lakas ng Bayan. With this action, Duterte signifies his official acceptance of his nomination. PDP Laban Secretary General Melvin Matibag said in a statement, "Voters will not know the final list of candidates until the deadline for the substitution of candidates in November. As of this report, the deadline for voter registration is September 30. The House of Representatives and the Senate are asking the COMELEC to have this extended to October 31. In the field of sports, Carlo Biado ended a 27-year drought for the Philippines with a stunning victory over Aloysius Yap of Singapore in the final 2021 U.S. Open Pool Championship in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Biado kept the country's flag flying proudly in the prestigious U.S. Open as he delivered his emotional speech after being awarded the U.S. Open trophy while wearing the traditional green jacket of the champion. Biado also won the U.S. Open Professional Pool Tournament prize of $50,000. The championship is Biado's second major world title after his 2017 World Championship conquest. He also ended a string of painful defeats suffered by Filipinos in the final of the U.S. Open. After Reyes broke through in '94, he lost in the final for 3 years in a row. Jose Amang Perica lost in 2003 and 2005, Rodolfo Luwat in 2006, Ronnie Alcano in 2007 and 2008, Orcolo in 2012 and 2014, and finally Livan Corteza in 2013. After winning the tournament, Biado made a courtesy call to Consul General Elmer Cato in New York City. The Philippine Independence Day Council or PIDC, will hold its annual meeting and elections on October 2nd in Woodside, New York. Cris de Guzman, COMELEC chair, has said that after a review process, the board of directors has approved the candidates running for president and 7 members of the board of directors. The candidate for president is Leonora Galeros Tinio, and the candidates for the board of directors are Mary Jean David, Marisa de Guzman, Charmel Lopez, Jay Layug, Antero Martinez, Aida Tagle, and Margarita Wisotsky. Cris de Guzman, Rachel Banyas, and Arner Piamonte, whose terms end in October 2021, are not seeking a second term. 14 board of directors and a president exercise governance of the board. Member organizations will elect all candidates, and the new set of board of directors will select the vice president, secretary, and treasurer. In Jersey City, PhilAm Rolando Lavaro Jr., incumbent Jersey City Council at Large of the City Council, has been certified as a Council at Large candidate in Jersey City's municipal election this November 2nd. The position of Council at Large represents the entire city of Jersey City. It requires 1,680 valid signatures or petitions from Jersey City voters to be certified as a candidate for the election. Lavaro's campaign staff submitted 2,828 petitions, which is almost 950 more than required. Lavaro touts his accomplishments as a tireless fighter for Jersey City's working families and diverse communities. When he served as the City Council President from 2013 to 2019, his legislative achievements included several ordinances such as earned sick days, living wage, and wage theft protection that favored the working people of Jersey City. Lavaro also takes credit for creating the Immigrant Affairs Commission, the first commission in New Jersey. Lavaro will be running against many candidates vying for the 3 at-large seats, including independents Elvin Dominici, June Jones, and Chris Gadsden, and the team full of members Danielle Rivera, Joyce Waterman, and Amy Denise. Remnants of Ida brought dangerous floods, record rains, and tornadoes to the Northeast on September 1st, with record-breaking rain and flash flooding, killing at least 45 people, 11 of them including a toddler and an 86-year-old woman, reportedly drowned in New York City basement apartments in the worst flash flooding event the city has ever experienced. According to the National Weather Service, rainfall in Central Park broke a 94-year-old record, while Newark, New Jersey, smashed a 62-year-old record. Hurricane Ida did not spare dozens of Filipinos living in some of these areas. Pictures posted on social media show flooded basements that damaged their belongings and properties. It includes the house of famed classical guitarist Michael Dadup of Queens, New York. He lost most of his musical instruments and scores, including memorable mementos of his career. Anne Constantino Beck of Rego Park in Queens lost her entire basement full of equipment and supplies. Bernice Bernabe, an expectant mother, lost everything she prepared for her baby when floodwaters submerged her basement apartment in Queens. Consul General Elmer Cato visited neighborhoods to reach out to Kababayan affected by the flooding and asked about their needs. The consulate issued a call for bayanihan, which was immediately responded to by members of the Filipino community. Bernice received items and cash for her baby donated by concerned Kababayan. The consulate appeal is ongoing, and here's a message from Consul General Cato. Back to you, Nair and Cris.
Thank you, Ricky Rillera, for that Balitaan. And for those who were victimized during the Hurricane Ida, please contact the Philippine Consulate for any support you might need. So, changing gears, in the Philippines, September is the start of the bear months and is the lead up to every Filipino's favorite holiday, Pasko or Christmas. Christmas is literally in the air. Christmas songs are played on loop, holiday decors are being put up, and many overseas Filipinos ask the big question, whether it is better to send balikbayan boxes or to send money to their loved ones instead in the Philippines. So that incidentally is our topic next month on Usapang Philam, where we will explore the big question, kwarta o kahon? So tune in to Usapang Philam on October 21, exactly 3 Thursdays from now. Same time, 8 o'clock p.m. Ner?
Yes, Cris, thank you very much. You know, as you said, the Philippines is known to have the longest Christmas season in the world, although it may be extended because Santa Claus may be required to be in self-quarantine for 10 days before delivering the gifts. Ha ha ha! But let's hope that he'll be able to deliver a lot of his goodies on time. But folks, watch out for our Thanksgiving and holiday episodes next month, and we will definitely get you into the holiday mood. But before that, Cris has some immigration updates which may affect some of our viewers, and the information may be of help to you. Here is Attorney Cris Godinez.
This is Immigration Troubles, Immigration Solutions, ITIS It Is, with Attorney Cris Godinez. Green card applicants must complete their COVID-19 shots. Beginning October 1, USCIS will require green card applicants to complete their COVID-19 shots and submit their COVID-19 vaccination record in order for the USCIS civil surgeon to sign and complete their immigration medical exam form. Failure to comply with the COVID-19 vaccination requirement may result in a denial of the green card application. Blanket waivers of the COVID-19 vaccination requirement may be granted in the following cases. First, where it is not age appropriate. Second, where it is contraindicated due to medical conditions. Third, where it is not routinely available where the civil surgeon practices. And fourth, where it is limited in supply and would cause significant delay for the applicant to get COVID-19 shots. Green card applicants may apply for individual waivers based on religious beliefs or moral convictions. Evidence of conditional permanent resident or CPR status extended to 24 months. Since September 4, USCIS has extended the time the I-751 receipt notices can be used to show conditional permanent resident status from 18 months to 24 months. For cases filed before September 4, USCIS will issue I-751 receipt notices that show a 24-month validity. Most conditional permanent residents or CPRs are married to their U.S. citizen spouse for less than 2 years at the time of their green card or visa approval. What they get is a green card that is conditional and is valid for only 2 years. They must apply for removal of the condition using the I-751 petition form within 90 days from the expiration of their conditional green card. Previously, USCIS has been issuing I-751 receipt notices that extend the conditional residence status to 18 months, beyond the expiration of the green card. Due to long processing times, however, USCIS is now extending the I-751 petitioner's conditional status from 18 to 24 months. Green card applicants may now concurrently apply for a Social Security number. This means there is no need for green card holders to personally submit paperwork at the local Social Security office to get the new SSN or replacement SSN card. Starting October 13, USCIS will accept only the latest edition of the green card application form, which allows the concurrent application of a Social Security number or replacement SSN card with unrestricted work authorization. New or replacement SSN cards will be sent directly to the green card holder when the green card application is approved.
Thank you, Chris, for that useful information. So, for those who wish to immigrate, you will need to vaccinate. Remember, immigrate, you need to vaccinate. For those of our viewers and listeners who would like to know more about these developments, you can reach Attorney Cris at info@PinoyLife.net. Another event we remember in September is September 11, 2001. I have my memory of that day. That day, I got to work at 8:15 a.m. and my boss told me to turn on the TV. There was a report of a plane hitting the World Trade Center, and I honestly thought that it was a small Cessna or Piper plane. And I realized afterward that it was a big plane with another plane hitting 20 minutes later. We all went to 5th Avenue and 30th Street, and we could see the Twin Towers burning up in flames. Everyone was so confused as to what was happening, and Manhattan was like a war zone. I had to walk home to Riga Park in Queens. We crossed over the 59th Street Bridge. That was a very sad day for all of us. But let me ask Chris. Chris, where were you that time?
Well, I was in the Philippines that fateful day, Mayor. We did the tourist thing 6 months before during a trip to New York and went up to the World Trade Center top floors. When I saw the footages on TV, that plane crashing into the building, I remember thinking, it can't be real. I mean, these scenes you only see on the movies. But the attack did happen. And sadly, Filipino Americans were among those who suffered, those who were the casualties of the World Trade Center attacks. So tonight, we would like to pay tribute to our Kababayans with a special musical performance by the choir director of the San Guillermo Choir of Queens. I'd like to welcome Mr. Johnny Ramos, who will render the classic song, Hindi Kita Malilimutan. Please welcome Johnny Ramos.
Nakaukit man pakailanman sa aking palad ang iyong pangalan. Malilimutan ba ng ina ang anak nagaling sa kanya sanggol sa kanyang sinapupunang panorya matataligdan ngunit kahit na malimutan ng ina ang anak niyang tanan. Hindi kita malilimutan kailan may di pababayaan. Hindi kita malilimutan kailan may di ngunit kahit na malimutan ng ina ang anak niyang tanan, hindi kita malilimutan kailan may pababayaan. Hindi kita malilimutan kailan may
Thank you very much, Johnny Ramos. We appreciate you lending your wonderful voice to our tribute to those kababayans who perished in the 9/11 attack. The San Guillermo Choir, which takes its name from the town named after the patron saint, is found in Talisay, Batangas, Nair's hometown, I think.
Balitaan.
Right? So the San Guillermo Choir regularly sings at the Filipino Mass every third Sunday of the month at the Ascension Church in Elmhurst, Queens. So maraming salamat muli, Mr. Johnny Ramos. Nair?
Yeah. Thank you very much as well, Johnny. Before we introduce our next segment, once again, I have a question for Chris. Let's see how far back you can remember. Where were you on September 21, 1972? In my case, I was at home and suddenly all TV channels went blank. And then the video clip of the president then, President Marcos, kept being replayed over and over again that martial law had been declared. And we were told by our parents just to stay home and we didn't know what to do. We were scared, we were confused. So how about you, Chris? What were you doing that time?
Well, what was I doing that time there? The kleptocrat Ferdinand Marcos was the only president I knew at that time. Wala nang iba. I did not know anyone else as president. I did not know any better. But I remember as a child growing up under martial law, I felt and knew what the grown-ups around me felt. The grown-ups around me felt fear, and I heard words like curfew, PC, the stockade, mga estudyante na nagde-demo. Many lived in poverty. I too remember the time when I felt particularly grateful that we were at least able to eat mais or corn grits at the time of a severe rice shortage. So to put things in perspective, we have our dear Professor Noel Pangilinan, who will feature on Rewind an overview, will tell us what really happened during martial law. And I think the next generation would appreciate knowing what actually happened back then. So here's Rewind with Professor Noel Pangilinan.
Magandang gabi po. Welcome to this month's episode of Rewind, your home for everything Philippine and Filipino-American history. Ako po si Noel Pangilinan. I teach Filipino, Philippine history, and Philippine literature at the College of Mount St. Vincent. 49 years ago this month, Filipinos woke up to a nightmare that would trap them for 14 years. On September 21st, 1972, then-President Marcos imposed martial law and placed the whole country under his one-man dictatorial rule. Eventually, in 1976, the Marcoses fled the country to escape the wrath of the Filipino people. Since then, the Marcoses and their supporters have been engaged in a dastardly campaign to peddle lies and misinformation. Lies and misinformation that were meant to erase the crimes they have committed against the Filipino people. First, the question: why did Marcos declare martial law? Short answer: to cling to power and to continue to enjoy the perks and the funds that come with being the president. The 1935 Philippine Constitution only allows a maximum of 2 4-year terms for the president. Marcos was elected in 1965 and was re-elected in 1969. Obviously, he can no longer run in the following election in 1973. Hence, he declared martial law. With one fell swoop, Marcos set up a one-man authoritarian regime. He abolished Congress, dissolved the vice presidency, canceled the 1973 presidential election, shut down mass media, and jailed critics of his administration that included senators, congressmen, newspapermen, broadcast journalists, labor leaders, church leaders, student activists, and many others. He also grabbed businesses owned by his critics, such as the TV network ABS-CBN, owned by a Marcos critic. Marcos's martial law was notorious for its wanton disregard for human rights. 3,240 people killed, 34,000 people tortured, 70,000 people imprisoned, and over 1,600 disappeared and never to be found. During Marcos's reign, the Philippines' foreign debt ballooned from $278 million in 1965 to $2.5 billion in 1970, and to a whopping $25 billion plus in 1985. This is one of the main sources of Marcos's ill-gotten hidden wealth. The foreign debt is so huge that the Filipino taxpayers will have to pay them back until 2025. Martial law also became synonymous for massive corruption and plunder. Estimated total of what Mr. Marcos stole? $10 billion to $20 billion. But the Philippine government was only able to recover $4 billion worth of Marcos's hidden wealth as of 2014. This unbridled corruption earned Marcos the number 2 spot in the all-time list of the world's most corrupt leaders. Marcos also grossly mismanaged the Philippine economy. While most of our Asian neighbors' economies were growing at impressive rates, the Philippine economy stagnated. It took the country 21 years to recover and achieve its 1982 GDP level. Poverty was rampant. A World Bank study reports that the proportion of people living below the poverty line had doubled from 24% in 1974 to 49% in 1985. Income per person dropped after 1982. That is, if you're lucky enough to have a job. Unemployment remained high. In 1985, inflation soared at 23.3%. For the Marcos reign was also known for its excesses. Mrs. Marcos built vanity projects, such as the Cultural Center of the Philippines, the Folk Arts Theater, and the Manila Film Center. These projects were built to showcase not Philippine culture, but highbrow culture from the West. Worse, these projects were overpriced and were veritable sources of corruption. In the end, the Filipino people's long, arduous struggle to be free that culminated in the People Power Revolution of 1986 put an end to the abuses and excesses of Mr. Marcos and his cronies. The mighty Marcos military machine was reduced to rubble. To learn more about the real history of martial law, here are a few books that can help us understand better what happened, what really happened during those 14 years of Marcos's military rule. So mga kababayan, did you like this episode of Rewind? Give me your thoughts. Please write on the comment section of this website. If you have topics that you want us to talk about, let us know. You can send me your comments, suggestions, and questions at noel@pinoylife.net. Please like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let me leave you with words from George Santayana, a Spanish-born philosopher, essayist, poet, and novelist. He said, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." Kita-kita po tayo ulit next month. Ito po si Noel Pangilinan, nagsasabing salamat at ingat.
Thank you very much, Professor Noel Pangilinan. Maraming salamat sa pagbukas muli ng ating mga mata sa mga nangyari noong September 21, 1972. Truth be told, I was only 11 years old that time. I'm sure Noel and Ricky probably were older by maybe a couple of years. And maybe si Chris, she was still playing with dolls. And maybe Lambert from Community Buds was playing basketballs or agawan base. And believe it or not, our mga bunso, Ralph Samson and JV Acuna, they weren't even born yet. But before we proceed, thanks again to our sponsors, Kababayan Media, Design District Studios LLC, Philippine Daily Mirror, Lead, Law Office of Cris Godinez, and of course, World Remit. Anyway, Chris, so would you believe it? Ang babata pa natin ng 1972, right?
Yeah, a lot of time has passed. So hopefully this dark episode of our Philippine history under Marcos will not repeat itself or will not continue, whoever the leader is. So, cambio muna tayo. September is the month that students troop back to school. So we ask ourselves, what is it like with over a million K-12 to 12 students trooping back to the largest school district in the country, New York City? So what was it like after the pandemic? Well, after the lockdown, the pandemic is still around. So there are a lot of challenges, I'm sure. Our next guest will tell us what it's like. It's been, 2 weeks since the reopening of New York City schools. So would you introduce our next guest, Nair?
Absolutely. I'm so excited to introduce our next guest. Our next guest is an educator, a math teacher at the New York City Department of Education, originally from Mandaluyong and now as inhabitant of Jackson Heights and taught previously at La Salle Green Hills. He is also a blogger, which we have had the opportunity to view. And honestly, we were hooked. It's funny, informative, and promotes Filipino culture as well. We are excited to talk to him. Please welcome Ramil Buenaventura, more popularly known as Ram Buena.
Hi, Teacher Ram!
Hello.
Hey, Teacher Ram.
Mabuhay! Kamusta lahat?
Kumusta? Mabuti naman po kayo, Teacher Ram. Ang aga niyo siguro nagising today dahil may klase.
Yeah. At maaga
Yes,
rin
of
matutulog
course.
yan.
Yan ang trabaho ng teacher.
Yeah. Pero Teacher Ram, like previously we were talking about the martial law era, the September 21st. Do you still remember where you were, or were you born already?
Yes, 3 years old ako noon. Naku, hindi ko
Okay.
maalala.
Ako
I can't
talagang
remember.
wala pang kamuwang-muwang.
But I grew up in the Marcos era. Yan ang like you, Chris, siya ang presidenteng naalala ko. And my family are from the north, taga Isabela, they're in Ilocano, so solid mga loyalista sila. And syempre, na-impluwensya na si anak. Because during that time, parang, I don't know, yun lang alam mo eh.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, history took its course.
Yes.
And today, our teacher Ram is here with us to share with us what really happened when school reopened this year. So, what was your day like today, Teacher Ram? Tell us, kumusta ang klase today?
Well, it's an ordinary day, pero, in an ordinary day, a lot of things happen, especially in the middle school. Like, in one of my 7th grade class, ano nangyari? Biglang lahat, they want to go to the bathroom. Can I go to the bathroom? O CR pala tawag sa Philippines, no? So lahat nagpapaalam. So sabi ko, nagtuturo ako. What will happen? Wala nang makikinig. O sige, labas na kayong lahat. Everybody go out. I challenged them. Pero natakot. Hindi na lumabas. So that's a day, it's an ordinary day, but an incident can happen unexpectedly. Then isa pa, i-share ko yung sa 7th grade class. So I was supposed to teach integers, yung multiplying, dividing with signed numbers. So I have to review lang dapat ang fractions. But I realized 7th grade na to, they have no idea how to add, subtract, multiply, divide fraction. So the review part became the main lesson. I had to extend it for the whole week. Right. And I think that's the result of the pandemic. For 2 years, their input was not really good. The foundation was not really, strong enough for the 7th grade lessons.
Right. So I was just wondering, Teacher Ram, you were one of the pioneers in using YouTube or remote learning tools for teaching math. Can you tell me how it was like during the pandemic and whether it was somehow helped mitigate the negative effects of being on lockdown and not being in person at school or when you're teaching them? Can you share that a bit?
Yeah, I remember that was March of 2019. Bigla na lang natapos na yung klase. Sabi, everybody's locked down. We thought it's just gonna be for a week, but it just extended and extended. And maybe we only had a weekend to prepare online resources. I never heard about Zoom. I never heard about, Google Classroom, doing your curriculum online. We are not trained to do this, most teachers. Pero, the New Yorker is always resilient. Nahaluan pa ng Filipino. So it was a struggle, really. It was a struggle. And we're all grasping, trying out, trial and error. Yeah, let's try this app, hindi gumagana. Ito, i-video natin, hindi gumagana. Let's use this platform. It works, it doesn't work. So trial and error kaming mga teachers. So the kids were also confused because the teachers are confused. But it became a learning experience, trial and error. So eventually gumanda. But after a year, remote pa rin pala, tuloy pa rin, another whole year of remote. And then we just got better and better. Teachers became creative. And for some kids, generally people might say it doesn't work, but there were some kids whom I taught in a regular classroom. They weren't excelling, but it worked for them, for some of them. Okay. Yeah, yun ang realization ko, wow, effective din pala.
Wow. So now that you're doing in-person classes, did you notice any difference in the progress of the students? I mean, how badly were they ever affected by the pandemic, not going to class for a year? What's your assessment?
Correct. So pagbalik nila this September, so nanibago sila. They have their wearing masks, all of these safety precautions, the procedures in the lunchroom, bago lahat, and even in the classroom. I think they're not used to being in a classroom already. But on the first week and until now, I have this class, an 8th grade class. They were just quiet. They're very, very passive. As in, I'm the only one speaking, which is not normal in the past because during the regular face-to-face before pandemic, ikaw ang susuko, please be quiet. You would say, shut up na, para lang tumigil sila. But now their mouths are sealed. They don't want to participate. They're very passive. Parang, ano to, maybe akala nila nasa Zoom pa rin sila at nakamute silang lahat. Unmute ako ng unmute. Come on, speak up, speak up. They're just quiet.
Right.
And plus the mask.
Right.
The mask, I think, is holding them to share, to really speak up.
So ano ginawa mo to spur them to talk?
Until now, nahirapan ako. So what I do is, if I ask a question, okay, you don't need to say it out in the class, say to the person beside you na lang.
Oh, okay.
Tell the person beside you what's the answer. 5. Ang sagot ko ay 7. So compare kayo, mag-usap na lang kayo. I think that works.
Well,
Unti-unti. Then I give them incentives na rin. O sige, yung unang makatapos, you get extra credit. If you wanna share it, extra credit, iba-bribe mo naman sila. May mga candy ako, kahit middle school yan, masaya sila sa mga candy.
Sa candy, pwede mo na silang i-bribe, ha? Naku, teacher, very creative talaga. You explore all ways of teaching kids. So we were also very interested in your video blogs. Mayor, would you like to explore these?
I know, yes, Teacher Ram. That's why when they said Ram Buena, I heard of Ram Buena, but I did, teacher ba yun? Like, no, because I didn't know.
Or blogger?
And then
or
when
both?
I learned that you were a teacher, and then I looked at your blogs, YouTube, and then top 10 breakfast or top 10 ulams. And then and then you go on trips around your neighborhood. You talk about there's apparently a Target sa Jackson Heights, and then there's this Korean corn dog around the area. But I thought it was very interesting and parang slice of life types of videos. So how did you get into that? I know you did some TikTok lessons. That's what you told us before, but this one is parang outside of the school na yun. So, what inspired you to do all these things?
All right. I think that's also the result of the pandemic, right? During the lockdown, people would always, there's a learning. There's something new that happened to you. I think yan ang naging resulta sa akin. The creativity mas lalong na-enhance, and I have all the time. I'm always here at home. And I joined these Facebook groups. I joined Filipinos of New York, Pinoys of New York. There are thousands of members in there. Sometimes kasi nakikita ko yung mga postings doon. Ang babababaw, nagtanong lang, anong ulam nyo, ganon. Sino yung artista na ganyan. Now, I said, no, ang mga Pinoy dapat mas stimulate yung mga yung mga discussion, mas stimulate yung mga usapan. So, I just thought of, why don't I ask a question? And then people responded, like hundreds would respond. Nagtyaga lang akong itali ang mga results. Let me just do the top 10 favorite tourist spots ng Pinoy. Kunyari, top 10 gulay na niluluto natin sa New York. Meron din for your next topic. Top 10, anong laman ng balikbayan box? Nakalista rin doon.
That's interesting. Yes.
Yan. And then people responded. I tallied it. And then I just made it a 1-minute video. Kasi naman ang attention ng tao. Pag mahaba ng video, skip. Next. So, tapusin natin lahat in 1 minute. Yeah.
Great.
And it gained interest. And I'm surprised, napanood niyo rin.
Yeah. Enjoying nga kami, but it was really, really fun to watch. And especially the places to go, yung mga recommendations kung anong tourist spots na for Filipinos, what are the must-see spots? Di ba? You had that.
Yes.
And then, so, between school and doing your bloggings, what is the next step for you? Are you gonna be an educator blogger na lalabas ngayon sa PBS or something like that?
Let's see, every day you think of something else. Depende sa inspiration mo. I've tried maybe mga Pinoy hacks, ano yung mga natutunan natin kala lolo't lola dati na ginagawa pa rin natin ngayon. Okay, ano pang naisip ko? Mga Pinoy diskarte siguro para mapadali ang buhay natin, you know.
Right.
And I don't know, yung just like you said, yung TikTok, nag-evolve na lang yun dahil just like I said, you know, the interest of the students. I'm posting long videos about math, but eventually, if you could see the analytics, first 3 minutes lang ang pinanood. Might as well make those lessons, math lessons in 1 minute. Kaya yun ang ginagawa ko ngayon. I'm posting 1-minute math lessons in TikTok.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pero teacher, ang pinanood ko yung absolute value. Oh, sabi ko, nga no, para refresher course.
Yes.
So, ibig sabihin, sa mga students mo ngayon, kulang, masyado nang mahaba ang 3 minutes para sa isang lesson?
The attention span is really, talagang limited na. Because, you're competing with their video games. You're competing with those TikTok, those Instagram, lahat ng effects nandyan na ano ba naman panama ng isang teacher na nagdadakdak ng 3 minutes, 10 minutes, wala na, tulog na, di ba? So that's why for teachers, it's always a challenge to get their attention, use of a lot of multimedia, visuals, and most important, syempre, to motivate the students na yung pinag-aaralan nila ay may sense, may kinahihinatnan o may kagamitan in their real life.
Yeah, Teacher Ram, just to let you know, when we were promoting the poster for this episode, and then a friend of mine from school had even mentioned, hey, I know Teacher Ram. He was the teacher of my twin girls when they were at the charter school. So, famous ka pala.
That's nice to know kasi I've been teaching na dito sa New York ng 18 years. So, most of my students are adults na, may mga professional na rin. Meron na nga akong nakita, naging friend ko na wrestler. Wrestler na estudyante ko. Merong isang preacher na wrestler, may mga lawyers na rin, very successful na. And for a teacher, makita mo sila, friend ka nila sa Facebook, minsan pumapasyal sa school just to say thank you. Oh my goodness, that's the only reward that we get. We don't become really very rich, pero pag bumalik yung mga estudyante, nakita naming successful sila, sulit lahat ng pagod.
Nako, pero Teacher Ram, you were actually acknowledged as one of the best teachers in New York. Back in 2014, you were awarded the Big Apple Award out of 75,000 teachers in New York City, and that is a feather in your cap. So kudos for that. And for you to continue doing this, talagang malaking bagay para sa mga parents. So what can parents actually do to help with the learning and maybe with the catching up after the lockdown and any learning deficiencies, some lalo na sa mga middle schoolers? What can parents do to help you out?
Right, good question. So I think number one talaga is, emotional support, just being there. We don't expect the parents to be teaching all the lessons kung nahirapan sila because, the parents could guide them. Use the YouTube. Parents could guide them how to do the searching, right? Kasi we don't expect you to be the dispenser of knowledge kasi minsan limited na rin ang knowledge natin. Just be there, teach your children how to find the information, how to learn by themselves. Kasi ganyan na tayo in the future ngayon, di ba tayo? If we wanna do something, i-YouTube ko lang. Natuto nga ako magpinta ng bahay, ni YouTube ko. Natuto ako gumawa ng backsplash ng kitchen, ni YouTube ko. So, teach them how to be independent learners, critical learners. Yan ang maganda. Suporta
ng mga
and be partners with the teachers then. Communication with the teacher is very important. Ang maganda nga dito sa States is that, you can call up the parent, you can call up the teacher. Kasi sa Pilipinas, parang bawal yun. You should have no contact with the parents during my time. Pero ngayon, effective communication really helps. Right. And participate sa mga school activities. Yan ang measure ng success ng mga anak ninyo.
Good to know.
Wow.
We learned a lot today.
Teacher Ram, quick question lang. Like your YouTube, you're on TikTok. So how do they find you?
Yes.
Rampage Math, di ba?
Yes, in YouTube it's called Rampage Math, Rampage MATH, and then in TikTok Rampage 3.14, parang pi 3.14.
Okay.
Kasi nakuha na yung
Ganun
name
ba
na
yun?
Rampage.
3.14. May doon pa
Rampage
sa teacher Ram, di ba? 16?
Mahaba yun.
mahaba.
3.1415926535. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's not
Rest.
get So, look out for Rampage Math for education, culture, math, and more. Abangan na at
Yes.
panoorin nyo sa Facebook at YouTube. Nandun si Teacher Ram.
Yes.
So, Nair?
Yeah, Teacher Ram, I would like to once again thank you very much for gracing our episode tonight.
Yes, thank you very much.
Learned so much, and it was such a fun conversation with you, Teacher Ram.
And also, thank you and mabuhay sa inyong new season of Talk of the Town. I'm impressed with your, organization, with the topics here, the things that you promote. Talagang makakatulong sa ating mga films dito, and also those others who are watching.
Thank
Keep up
you.
the good work.
Thanks. So next we
Mr.
bring
Ram.
you, yes,
Bye.
we'll see you around. So that's Rampage Math for education, culture, math, and more. Next, we bring you what's coming up and what's going on in the Filipino community with Kababayan Media's Lambert Parong. Here is Community Buzz.
Hello everyone, kumusta po kayo? I'm Lambert Parong and this is Community Buzz. We begin with some recent events from the last week. On September 21st, advocates and activists for human rights in the Philippines held a rally commemorating the 49th year anniversary of the Marcos martial law. Demonstrators gathered outside the United Nations as President Duterte addressed the UN General Assembly with a video message from Malacanang Palace in Manila. After that, the demonstrators marched towards the Philippine consulate. They recounted atrocities brought by the imposition of martial law in the Philippines during the Marcos regime. And then, the activists condemned the current administration's handling of its COVID-19 response, highlighting a critical commission on audit report about the government's pandemic spending. The human rights advocates also continue to demand justice for victims of the war on illegal drugs by the Duterte administration. Run for Health, Run to Help Others, an in-person run-walk project by the Junior Chamber International Philippine New York in partnership with the Handang Tumulong Foundation. It happened this past Saturday, September 25th at Central Park. The annual race now in its 12th year has helped Handang Tumulong Foundation, a 501c3 organization, raise funds in support of its mission of helping those affected by natural calamities in the Philippines and other parts of the globe. Registration is still open at raceentry.com. Just type HTFI on the search box. For more information on Handang Tumulong, please visit their website at handangtumulong.org. The organization, First Filipino Martyr Saint Incorporated, celebrated the feast of San Lorenzo Ruiz with a mass at 2 in the afternoon last Sunday, September 26th at the Cathedral of St. Patrick in New York, with Father Joseph Marabi as the main celebrant. Guests in attendance included Consul General El Mercato with his wife Melanie and the 17 hermanos and hermanas of 2021. Also gracing the occasion were Ambassador Mari De Leon with his wife Eleanor and Miss Lloyda Nicolas Lewis as special guests. It was followed by a reception at St. Cyril and Methodius Church on 10th Avenue. MCs for the program were Nair Martinez and Babes Mamawal. The reception featured a sumptuous dinner, performances, raffle, and dancing. Also, on September 26, New York welcomed back Miss Fed de los Reyes with the brothers Spanky and Roger Rigor of the legendary VST and Company. Everyone laughed out loud to the routine of Miss Fed de los Reyes, and the visibly entertained crowd danced to the unique Manila sound that came out during the 70s. Unbeknownst to many back then, OPM or original Filipino music had already invaded the Big Apple through the now iconic Studio 54. Miss Diana Ross of the quintessential trio of the Supremes would request that record when she would come in and swing to the tune of Awitin Mo at Isasayaw Ko, and nobody knew who or what language, let alone where the tune came from. But last Sunday, the audience sang and danced along with Spanky and Roger as they performed from a selection of the band's hit songs. The show was held at the Sheraton LaGuardia, East Hotel and also featured Imelda Cruz, the singing doctor. It was produced by Tri-State and Beyond by Melissa and Augie Mendoza with Dr. Romulo Arimil Jr. and veteran producer Miss Baby Lantin. Next, we move on with some notable exhibits by Filipino artists happening right now. At the Philippine Center Lobby Gallery, master realist painter Romeo Cortez Jr. with his 8th solo exhibit entitled Homage opened successfully on September 14. The evening reception was graced by the Consul General of the Philippines in New York, El Mercato, who led in the ribbon-cutting ceremony and welcomed guests. The exhibit will end on October 1, tomorrow. The gallery is located at 556 Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. And in Brooklyn, at the 10th Photoville Festival, works by photojournalist and nurse Rose M. Morton are featured in an exhibit entitled Friends, Art for Humanity, Reflections from Filipino-American Frontline Healthcare Workers. It is presented by Friends of the Philippine Society USA and will run until December 1st. And now for some events to keep an eye out for. Tomorrow, Friday, October 1st, from Filipino-American filmmaker Steve Mallorca's Sulu and Excelsior's visual album The Antimatter Suite will be making its world premiere at the 25th Annual Urban World Film Festival, screening at the Sinopolis, Chelsea at 6 in the evening. This Saturday, it's October Madness with 4 Filipino community events scheduled, all happening in the borough of Queens. First up is the 2021 Little Manila Block Party at 70th Street and Roosevelt Avenue in Woodside from 11 a.m. till 4 in the afternoon. For the second event, we go to Sunnyside as Bliss on Bliss Art Projects host an opening reception at 3 in the afternoon till 7 in the evening for 3 New York City Artists Corp grantees. Francis Estrada with Escaping Dreamland Project with fellow Filipino-American artists Jojo Austria and Jevi Jovitug. Readings from Paper Doll album by Olina Jennings. And Jed Merino's Someday This Will All Make Sense, a site-specific installation which started in Bogota in 2020, traveled to Manila, and now is here in New York. It will return to Colombia in November. The third event on October 2nd takes us again to Woodside at the Corpus Christi Parish for the Araw ng Aruga Day of Care Filipino Festival, with a church mass at 11 in the morning, then followed by a food and arts market with music and dancing at the parking lot until 5 in the afternoon. The fourth event on Saturday brings us to Flushing, still in Queens. It's a night of music and fun with the fabulous Jam Morales for a show to benefit projects of the Association of Philam Teachers in America. For tickets, call Myrna at 917-502-9887. Then, on October 4, Monday, the Society of Philippine American Artists returns home to the Philippine Center Lobby Gallery on 5th Avenue with an in-person exhibit from October 4 till the 15th. Featuring works of 19 participants from New York, New Jersey, and Vancouver. Next up, the Filipino School of New York and New Jersey has 2 Kwentuhang Filipino or Filipino stories lined up. First on October 6th at 11:30 in the morning on the Fairfield Public Library's Facebook page, featuring Dr. Joy Francisco's Balikbayan Box, Journey to the Philippines. The second Kwentuhang Filipino is on October 9 at 10:15 in the morning on the Bergenfield Public Library's Facebook page. The guest author, Dorina Gilmore, will be reading Cora Cook's Pansit. Also, on October 9 at 5 in the afternoon Pacific Time or 8 in the evening Eastern Time, the Hot Off the Press literary reading will showcase 9 Filipino and Filipino-American authors, including our friends in New York, Gina Apostol and Lara Stapleton. Arnel Pineda and Bamboo brings their first live US Tour 2021 in New Jersey at Bally's Atlantic City Hotel and Casino. On October 9th, the New Jersey show is brought to you in part by Tri-State and Beyond. Call them at 917-613-4139 or 917-916-6770. The Philippine Consulate General in New York announced 2 consular outreach missions. First on October 9th, Saturday from 9 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon at Elks Lodge on 141 Pelham Street, Newport, Rhode Island. The second one on October 10th, Sunday from 9 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon at St. Joseph's Church on 129 Edward Street, New Haven, Connecticut. Kababayans are required to book an appointment. Visit the consulate website at newyorkpcg.org. Then on October 22nd, Friday, it's the launching of Bagong Bayaning Pilipino or modern-day Filipino heroes with a fundraising concert honoring the Filipino-American frontline healthcare workers. The performance begins at 7 in the evening at St. Francis Xavier Church. Call 917-213-7909 or visit the website at friendsphsusa.org. On October 24th, Sunday, the JC's New Jersey will be honoring the JCI USA Centennial milestone with the Black Tie Affair. The gala begins at 3 in the afternoon in Union, New Jersey. Visit the Facebook page of JCI New Jersey, NJJCs. Last but not least, on October 25th, Monday, Sanglikha Sanglahi Art Exhibit, presented by 3 different Filipino-American art organizations, will have an opening reception from 6 in the evening till 9 in the evening at the Philippine Center Gallery in Manhattan. The exhibit will run through November 12. Call Anne at 917-767-0027. Finally, we would like to thank Edwin Josue, Beatrice Almazan, Michael Garvillas, Ives Nibunco, Alfeus Lantero, Nier Martinez, Joyce Bernal, Bel Molina, Ronald Cortez, Jed Merino, Jay De Vera, and Ana Asok for helping to make this segment possible. That's it for now. Send us your community events and announcements. Email it to communitybuzz@pinoylife.net or lambert@kababayanmedia.com so we may share it on our next episode. Thanks for joining us. I am Lambert Parong for Community Buzz.
Thank you very much, Lambert Parong of Kababayan Media. Those are lots of events and very interesting at that. Reminder to our viewers and listeners, please check out Filipino-American Community on PinoyLife.net on Facebook for more events. Our episode tonight will also be available to view on our YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe to our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. Chris?
We'd like to thank tonight's sponsor, World Remit, for fast, safe, and low-cost money transfers. Go to www.worldremit.com. We'd like to thank our guest, our special guest, Ramil Buenaventura, for sharing his day with us. And please visit his YouTube page, Rampage Math, for if you want to brush up on your math or you want to know more about Filipino culture. Find out what are the top 10 chichirya or top 10 healthy ulam for Filipinos here in the East Coast, or any Filipino community for that matter. We have more in store for you in our upcoming episodes this season. Nair, would you like to tell our guests, our viewers, what they can look forward to?
Yes. We have lots of stuff we are working on. We will have a Filipino restaurant chef cooking challenge. We will challenge all of them to prepare a dish for maybe Thanksgiving or for the holiday, and they will teach us how to cook it. And what else? We also have our thanks and gratitude feature. We will have some DIY, do-it-yourself holiday preps and tips. And we will have, believe it or not, surprise guests and many more. We are all working on that for you.
All right. And next month, don't forget, 3 Thursdays from now, October 21st at 8 p.m., Usapang Philam, where we will decide the big question for the bare months leading up to Pasko or the Christmas holidays. Kwarta o kahon? Balikbayan box ba or peperahin na lang? Pera or kakahunin? You tell us. So, yes. Nair, that's
we're here at the end of our episode already, and much as we'd like to talk, we can talk about anything and under the sun, but we have to end this episode. And so we are ending this another episode of Talk of the Town tonight. And on behalf of Ricky Rillera for Balitaan, Professor Noel Pangilinan for Rewind, Attorney Cris Godinez for Immigration Updates, Lambert Parong for Community Buzz, Ralph Sampson in our control room. This is Nair Martinez bidding you all good night. See you next time, and let's keep talking.
Paalam. Ingat.